September 3, 1973. Labor Day weekend at the NHRA US Nationals in Indianapolis. The stands are packed, the air thick with nitro and burning rubber. A quiet mechanic from Whiteland, Indiana, Bob Glidden, lines up in his Ford Pinto Pro Stock machine. He launches hard, clocks a blistering 9.03-second quarter mile at 152.54 miles per hour, the top speed in the entire field, and storms to his first national event victory, beating legends like Wayne Gap in the final. That day, the sport felt something new: fear. Because this wasn't just a win. This was the first bite from the man they would soon call the Mad Dog. From that exact moment in '73, Bob Glidden didn't race like the others. He built engines in a tiny garage like a man possessed, sleeping 4 hours a night, hands bleeding from endless tuning, pushing Ford power plants to limits that shattered records and crushed careers. Rivals watched in terror as he turned underdog machines into unbeatable weapons, dominating the wild 1970s NHRA Pro Stock scene with a work ethic so brutal it earned him the nickname Mad Dog, not for show, but because his obsession terrified everyone who stood in his way. But the real shock isn't the wins, it's what happened when the garage door closed. The explosions, the risks, the personal toll that nearly ended everything. Victory at all costs? Glidden lived it, and paid prices you won't believe. This story starts on that September day in 1973, and it gets darker, more insane, and more real than any drag racing tale you've heard. But to understand how one mechanic from a small Indiana town became the terror of the strip, we have to go back even further, to the late 1960s when young Bob Glidden first picked up a wrench and decided the entire sport was about to change forever. You ready? Because once we start this engine, it doesn't stop. August 18, 1944. Whiteland, Indiana. A tiny farming town south of Indianapolis where the biggest excitement was a tractor pulling contest. That's the exact day Bob Glidden came into the world, son of a sharecropper, in a place where hard work wasn't optional, it was survival. By age 12, he was already tearing apart engines, overhauling tractors just to understand how they ticked. Late 1950s, as a teenager, the racing bug hit hard. He and his brother built their first real racer, a beat-up 1957 Ford, and started running local events, dragging it to strips around Indiana, learning every inch of the quarter mile the hard way. High school ends, and young Bob doesn't chase college or a cushy job. He lands work as a line mechanic at Ed Martin Ford dealership in Indianapolis, day job fixing customer cars, nights and weekends wrenching on his own machines. 1960s. He hits the streets first with a big-engine 1962 Ford, then moves to organized tracks. Switches to a 427-powered Fairlane in stock class. Dominates Division III Superstock with a 428 Cobra Jet Mustang by 1968. Ed Martin sponsors him because he's winning. Frequent victories, consistent, no flash, just results. But here's the real trigger. While the world partied through the swinging 60s and early 70s, Glidden lived in the garage. Self-taught, no fancy tools, no big budgets, just relentless hours, hands black with grease, sleeping 4 hours if he was lucky, tuning till his eyes burned. His wife Etta by his side, family involved from the start. This wasn't hobby racing. This was obsession. Blue-collar reality, borrowed parts, homemade fixes, backroad testing at dawn. Rivals with factory backing laughed at the small-town guy. Until they didn't. Authentic as dirt, no silver spoon, no shortcuts. Glidden built everything himself, pushed Ford power to places others wouldn't dare, all while holding down a full-time job. That grind earned respect, and set the stage for terror on the strip. But you think that was intense? Wait till 1972, when this mechanic from Whiteland sold his superstock cars, bought a used Pro Stock Pinto from Wayne Gap and Jack Roush, quit the dealership, went all in full-time, and the entire NHRA world started feeling the first real bite of the Mad Dog. 1972 was the turning point. No more local wins. No more side hustle. He stepped into Pro Stock, a class full of big-money teams, and decided to make them all pay for underestimating him. The rise begins here, and it's about to get unstoppable. The rise. September 2, 1974. Labor Day weekend again at the NHRA US Nationals in Indianapolis. The big go, the crown jewel of drag racing. The same strip where Bob Glidden had tasted his first national win the year before. But this time, it's different. This time, the quiet mechanic from Whiteland isn't just showing up. He's here to claim the throne. Glidden storms through eliminations in his Ford Pinto Pro Stock, dialing in consistent 8-second runs while the field struggles to keep up. He takes the win, caps a season with 3 major victories, including that monster US Nationals, and walks away with the NHRA Pro Stock World Championship. His first. At just 30 years old, in only his second full season in the pros, the underdog had done the impossible, beaten the big-money teams, the factory-backed legends like Bill Jenkins and Wayne Gap, on sheer will and garage-built power. That 1974 title wasn't a fluke. It was the start of something terrifying. 1975. Glidden repeats. Back-to-back championships. 7 national event wins that year, pushing his small block Fords into uncharted territory, becoming the first pro stock driver to break into the 8-second zone consistently. Rivals started whispering, "This guy doesn't quit. He doesn't party after wins. He heads straight back to the shop, tears down the motor, rebuilds it better, tests till dawn." His wife Etta right there beside him, handing tools, logging data, their sons Billy and Rusty growing up in the garage shadows. Family operation. No entourage. Just relentless precision. The nickname, Mad Dog, stuck hard now, not from any wild temper, but from that pit bull work ethic that never let go. He bit down and wouldn't release until victory was his. Fast forward to 1978. After a couple years of close battles, Glidden unleashes pure domination. He switches to a Ford Fairmont, tunes it to perfection, and goes on a tear. Multiple wins, including back-to-back US Nationals titles. Then 1979 hits like a freight train. Glidden opens the season with a Winter Nationals victory in Pomona. Doesn't lose a round until June. Wins 9 consecutive NHRA national events, a streak that still echoes as one of the most unbreakable in the sport's history. 9 straight. Think about that. Week after week, different tracks, different conditions, oil crises raging, safety rules tightening, competitors throwing everything at him, big block Chevys, Plymouths, factory help, and Glidden just keeps winning. 7 to 9 national victories that season alone, maximum points at multiple events by grabbing low ET, #1 qualifier, and top speed every time. He clinches his 4th championship in a Plymouth Arrow after Ford pulled back support, proving he could dominate in anything with wheels. Rivals were shell-shocked. One veteran said it plain, facing Glidden felt like staring down a rabid dog. You knew the outcome before the Christmas tree lit. He didn't just beat you, he made you question why you even showed up. The emotion here is raw. Admiration for the blue-collar genius who outworked everyone. Awe at the engineering mind that squeezed impossible power from stock block Fords. But fear too. Fear from the drivers who saw their sponsorships dry up, their confidence crack, some walking away from the sport because the gap felt insurmountable. Glidden's engines weren't just fast, they were consistent killers. He innovated in secret, custom heads, unheard-of tolerances, backroad testing that pushed the limits of what metal could take. Tires shredded, engines screamed, crowds roared, but in the pits, it was silent focus. No celebrations. Just the next rebuild. That obsession triggered something deep, respect mixed with unease. How far would this mad dog go? What was he willing to sacrifice? And the shocking reality? Those streaks came with hidden costs. Engines grenading in testing, shrapnel flying, close calls that could have ended it all right there in the garage. Rivals quit or switched classes. Careers stalled. Glidden kept going, winning his 5th title in 1980, closing the decade with 3 straight championships from 78 to 80. 85 career national wins total by retirement, still one of the all-time records. 10 world titles overall. But the 1970s rise? That was the foundation of terror. The era when pro stock wasn't just racing, it was survival against a man who refused to lose. You feel that fire? That mix of inspiration and dread? Because what Glidden built in those years wasn't just a legacy. It was a force that reshaped the sport. Competitors had to evolve or get left behind. Fans packed stands to see if anyone, could finally dethrone the mad dog. Most couldn't. But dominance like that always extracts a price. The garage horrors, the near misses, the physical toll, they were building. Coming up, the 1980s peak where Glidden pushed even harder, 5 straight titles, record qualifying streaks, but also the crashes that shook everyone, including him. The madness that nearly ended the legend before his time. 1979's 9 straight wins were shocking enough. But the real terror was what happened when the wins stopped being enough. When the limits got pushed too far. When the mad dog faced something even he couldn't outwork, the breaking point. The drama explodes next. Crashes, heartbreaks, comebacks that defied belief. Don't move. This gets way more intense. The peak. April 20th, 1986. Atlanta Dragway, Southern Nationals. The air is thick with spring heat and high stakes. Bob Glidden, now in his aerodynamic Ford Thunderbird, has already fought back from early season struggles, losses at Pomona and Gainesville that had people whispering the Mad Dog might be slowing down. But in the semifinals against Butch Leal, he strikes. Clean run, victory light on, parachute deploys. Then disaster. A sudden gust catches the chute wrong, yanks the car sideways, slams it into the opposite guardrail at over 150 miles per hour. The Thunderbird pitches, flips, barrels end over end, 6 full rolls down the track, metal shredding, fiberglass flying, the car reduced to a twisted cage wrapped around the engine. Smoke, dust, silence from the crowd. Everyone holds their breath. This looks fatal. But Bob Glidden climbs out. Walks away. Unhurt. Miraculously, the strengthened roll cage, upgraded just weeks before, saves him. No broken bones, no serious injury. The crowd erupts in disbelief. And here's the shocking, authentic detail that still gives chills. As soon as he's clear, Glidden stumbles to the wreckage, throws his fire jacket over the exposed intake manifold and carbs, what's left of his secret engine work. Even after rolling 6 times, even with the car in pieces, the Mad Dog protects his edge. Competitors couldn't see the design. Innovation over everything. That moment says it all. Obsession doesn't stop when the car does. The 1980s were Glidden's absolute peak, and his most brutal. After the 1980 championship closed the 70s run, Lee Shepherd took 4 straight titles from 81 to 84, pushing Glidden to evolve. Ford brought the slippery Thunderbird in 84, and Glidden responded with vengeance. 5 consecutive championships from 1985 to 1989. In 1985, he led points wire to wire, 5 national wins. 1986? He overcame that Atlanta nightmare, returned a month later at the Cajun Nationals, rebuilt the team, and still clinched the title despite missing momentum early. 1987, perfection. #1 qualifier at every single one of the 14 national events. 14 for 14. Then into 1988, stretched the streak to 23 consecutive #1 qualifiers across 2 seasons, a record of consistency that terrified the field. Wins piled up, finals appearances, low ETs, top speeds. Engines pushed to the absolute limit. Custom everything, secret tweaks, testing that bordered on reckless. Rivals adapted or faded. Some called it unfair, most just called it Glidden. But the emotion cuts deep here. Imagine the family side. Wife Etta, always in the pits, logging data, calming nerves. Sons Billy and Rusty, growing up trackside, watching Dad risk it all. Billy later recalled standing there in 86, heart in his throat as the car tumbled, then relief when Dad walked out, but the fear never fully left. The toll was real. Sleepless nights, bleeding hands, constant rebuilds. Glidden lived for the next tenth, the next horsepower. That drive triggered awe in fans. Here was a man who outworked machines themselves. But fear too, from rivals who saw unbreakable streaks, from family who saw the human cost. And the garage horrors? They weren't just stories. Engine failures in testing, shrapnel risks, close calls before Atlanta. The Mad Dog bit hard, but the bike came back. Shocking reality piles on in the 90s. 1994, heart issues surface. Doctors perform a 6-way bypass, major surgery. Prognosis grim, 2 to 4 years at best. Glidden fights. Misses most of 1995 recovering, but returns late season to win his 85th and final national event at the Mopar Nationals, poetic proof he never quit. 1997, retires officially to shift to Ford NASCAR engine development, but lasts only 2 races before stepping away fully. The body had given what it could. 10 world titles, 85 wins, streaks that redefined dominance. But the price? He paid it without complaint. This peak era wasn't glory without shadows. It was raw, real conflict. Man versus machine, man versus limits, man versus his own fire. Glidden's resilience after that 1986 roll, after heart surgery, after decades of grind, triggers something primal. Respect for unbreakable will, sorrow for what obsession demands. Rivals who once feared him later admitted the sport was better because he pushed everyone harder. Fans still talk about that Atlanta jacket moment, not as ego, but as pure racer instinct. Protect the secrets. Keep fighting, boys. The madness that terrified the 1970s evolved into something even more intense in the 80s and 90s. Wins that felt inevitable, crashes that felt impossible to survive, a body that finally said enough. But the legacy? Unshakable. The Mad Dog didn't just dominate, he changed what domination meant. You feel that weight? That mix of triumph and tragedy? Because the story doesn't end with retirement. It echoes into today, modern pro stock tech, underdogs inspired by his grind. Coming up, the final reflection on what Bob Glidden left behind, the emotional close that hits hardest, and why his name still terrifies and inspires. Strong rehook, voice softens to a powerful, reflective pull, building urgency for the close. April 20th, 1986, wasn't the end, it was proof the Mad Dog could survive anything. But survival came at a cost that lasted decades. Now, as we head into the legacy, prepare for the gut punch. The tributes, the losses, the fire that never died. This story ends strong. Stay with me. December 17, 2017. Whiteland, Indiana, the same small town where it all began on August 18, 1944. Bob Glidden, the original Mad Dog, slipped away at 73. Surrounded by his wife of 54 years, Etta, and sons Billy and Rusty, he left quietly after a battle with heart issues that had shadowed him since the 1994 six-way bypass. Doctors had given him 2 to 4 years back then. He gave the world 23 more, filled with rebuilds, wins, and that unbreakable fire. No fanfare, no final lap. Just a man who lived hard, raced harder, and finally rested. The NHRA world stopped. Tributes poured in from legends like Greg Anderson, who said Glidden's passing hit deep because he was the benchmark, the guy who made everyone better just by existing. Rivals who once trembled at his name mourned openly. The Mad Dog had bitten his last, but his teeth marks remain etched into drag racing forever. Think about the numbers. They're staggering, cold facts that warm the soul of any racer. 10 NHRA Pro Stock World Championships. 85 national event wins, still third all-time on the list. Streaks that defied logic. 9 consecutive nationals in 79, 23 straight number 1 qualifiers in 87 to 88, every U.S. Nationals final in the 1980s. 9 Big Go victories alone, a mark that stood tall for decades. He didn't just win, he redefined winning. From that first 1973 U.S. Nationals breakthrough to the 1995 Mopar Nationals comeback after heart surgery, Glidden proved consistency wasn't luck, it was obsession turned into engineering. His engines? Masterpieces of precision, custom heads, airflow secrets, tolerances so tight they bordered on impossible. Modern pro stock owes him everything: EFI systems, data logging, the relentless pursuit of tenths, all trace back to the garage in Whiteland where a mechanic with bleeding hands showed the world what maximum effort looks like. But the legacy isn't stats. It's human. It's the blue-collar story that still inspires. A sharecropper's son who started with a 1957 Ford Fairlane, worked a dealership job, built everything himself, no factory millions, no shortcuts. Etta by his side as crew chief, data keeper, rock. Billy and Rusty growing up in the pits, learning the craft, later racing themselves. Family wasn't separate from the race, it was the race. When Bob rolled 6 times in Atlanta '86, threw his jacket over the manifold to hide secrets, even then, it was about protecting the edge for the next fight. That instinct? Pure racer. And when health failed, he fought back, winning after bypass, retiring only when NASCAR called, briefly, then stepping away on his terms. The emotional gut punch hits hardest in the tributes. After his passing, the 2018 U.S. Nationals saw pro stock cars line the return road in honor. Rusty Glidden later said it brought tears, an unbelievable show of respect from a class he once dominated. Rivals who called him terrifying now call him mentor. John Force, legends across eras, they all credit Glidden for pushing the bar so high. Underdogs today? They look at his story and see possibility. Start small, work insane, win big. His inductions seal it: 1994 Motorsports Hall of Fame of America, 2005 International Motorsports Hall of Fame, and more recently recognized in the Engine Builder Hall of Fame's inaugural class for revolutionizing power plants in drag racing. Not just a driver, a builder who terrified competitors because he outthought, outworked, and outbuilt them. Here's the shocking truth that lingers. The Mad Dog terrified the 1970s, dominated the 80s, inspired the 90s, and still echoes in every pro stock launch today. Even those who feared him most admitted he elevated the sport, made it faster, smarter, tougher. His death in 2017 left a void, but filled it with gratitude. Fans still watch old footage, hear that Pinto or Thunderbird scream, and feel the fire. Kids in garages today wrench late nights, dreaming of their own streak, because Bob Glidden showed it's possible. From rural Indiana to NHRA immortality, he proved victory isn't about talent alone. It's about refusing to quit. Feel that mix? Awe at the achievements. Sorrow for the man gone too soon. Inspiration to grind harder in your own life. Pride that drag racing had a mad dog who bit for excellence, not ego. Bob Glidden didn't just build engines, he built belief. In underdogs. In family. In limits meant to be broken. The terror he instilled? It turned into respect. The obsession that nearly broke him? It forged a legacy unbreakable. This story started on a September day in 1973 with a 9.03 run that shocked the strip. It ends here, in reflection, with a man who left everything on the track and in the garage. The mad dog may be gone, but his howl still echoes every time a Christmas tree drops. So, what's your take? Who's the legend that fires you up like Glidden did for so many? Drop it in the comments. Share your stories, your favorite races, why his grind hits home. If this tale of obsession, terror, triumph, and heart moved you, smash that like button, share it with a fellow racer, and subscribe for more raw, real stories from drag racing's wild history. Next up, you won't believe the forgotten 70s rivalries that shaped the sport, or the modern underdogs carrying the mad dog torch. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it. The strip never sleeps, and neither does the legacy. The mad dog's bite lives on, in every wrench turn, every launch, every dream. If you're ready for more shocks from racing's past and present, subscribe now. Turn on notifications. Join the conversation below. Let's keep the engines roaring. Thanks for riding this quarter mile with me. See you at the next light. The Mad Dog didn't just terrify the 1970s drag strip, he changed the game forever. From that September 3, 1973, U.S. Nationals run that shocked everyone, through 9 straight wins in 79, 6 rolls in Atlanta 86 that he walked away from, heart surgery comebacks, 10 world titles, 85 national event victories, and a legacy that still echoes in every pro stock launch today. Bob Glidden proved one thing: obsession wins. Raw, garage-built, no excuses obsession. If this story hit you, the grind, the fear he put in rivals, the unbreakable will, the family sacrifice, the pure racing soul, then don't just watch and scroll. Get in the fight. Smash that like button right now if Bob Glidden just became your new benchmark for what real hustle looks like. Drop a comment below. Who's your drag racing legend? The one who terrifies or inspires you the most? Tell me, was it Glidden, Force, Jenkins, or someone else? Share your favorite race memory or why this Mad Dog story fired you up. Your comments keep these stories alive. Hit share if you know someone who needs this dose of old school grit. Send it to your racing buddy, your mechanic cousin, anyone who turns wrenches late at night dreaming of the strip. And most important, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because this is just the start. Next video? We're diving into the forgotten 1970s rivalries that pushed Glidden to the edge. The secret beefs, the blown motors, the nights that changed everything. You won't believe who almost dethroned the Mad Dog before he even got started, or the modern underdogs carrying his torch right now in pro stock. If you want more raw, fact-based, emotion-triggering drag racing history, no fluff, no filler, subscribe now so you never miss the next drop of the green. The strip is calling. The engines are warming. Bob Glidden's howl still echoes. Let's keep it roaring. See you in the next one.